All right, so let's get into Rule 67.16. I remember watching the movie Monsters, Inc., and it's like 2319, and it was sock or something from the kid's room on the monster's back or something. It was funny. That's just every time I hear like a code, that's where my 90s brain goes to. Anyways, I thought that we'd talk about this because there's obviously some debates. I know Scott Loeffler has been on one about it. He's one of the ones that says, well, it's worded wrong. We're like, okay, first of all, what is it and why is it a problem right now? Okay. What is it? Some, like myself, have called it the Buffalo Bandits rule, where a guy like, let's say, a Paul Dawson or someone else on the back end is standing in front of the goalie inside the crease trying to block a shot. And see, at that point, it's funny because I actually feel like that's when the goalie's pads are too big. As a new fan who loves the precision of the offense, if you're going to add 2 or 3 more guys right there, what's the point of the goalie having gigantic pads? It makes no sense at that point. And the goal is smaller than a field lacrosse goal. And by the way, I love that it is. Again, the shots we see are so stinking great. It's impossible for the common man to just walk up there and start shooting and making it. You have training and athleticism, etc. All of that goes into it. So I say all that because I do like the idea, as a newer fan of this 4th year, a fan of this sport who's not traditional good old boy lacrosse guy. I like the idea of, hey, why not just let the goalie do his thing and stand right in front of the crease? How's that? Like, that can't be too bad. And the problem is, when Brett Thru and maybe others had talked about it after the rule was leaked, I did leak it early, and then they finalized it, so it was no big deal. But after the rule got leaked, they were saying something about safety. That was the first red flag. Because at that moment, all of a sudden, it's like, well, other players block shots and they're still allowed to do it. So it's like, yeah, I get how that was suddenly an issue. But then, after we talk about the safety of it all, then the way they worded it was just not very smart. Because now, anybody who's a traditionalist in this league, who is stuck in their ways, and I get it, nostalgia is a bitch. I understand that. But now all these old lacrosse heads are saying, well, if you word it this way, does that mean this, that, and the third? Okay. So why is this suddenly an issue once again? I don't know if you saw, folks, but at the end of the Rochester game, they hosted the Toronto Rock in front of only less than 4,000 people, which is unfortunate. But they hosted the Rock, and late in that game, like the final minutes or minute and a half, a player clearly is in the crease and blocks a shot. And at that moment, based on the rule, that was as black and white as it gets. Like, there was no wording issue. Anyone who claims there is lying to themselves and trying just to be an a-hole on purpose. Like, at this point, I'm almost sick of people. I don't want to say sick of Scott Loeffler. I'm sick of this conversation because so many people are being dishonest. Oh, well, he lifted his body. Guys, just honestly shut up. Like, respectfully shut up. We cannot do the nitpicking of the English language when it's very clear what happened. That should have been a power play based on the rule because it's delay of game. Now, we're going to get to that in a moment about the power play thing. Because within 30 seconds, like I believe within 10 seconds this happened, Rochester had a chance to tie again. And if they had called this one, it would have been by rule a penalty shot. Now, I'm selfish as a fan of sports, and I knew that Rochester had blown the lead. And believe me, they are the first ones to admit that. I'm saying fans were robbed of a potential game-tying goal with time expired. Like, can you imagine Rochester or any good team blows a lead, the other team commits a penalty, and the penalty shot might send us a sudden death overtime. How is that not cool? So not only did the refs rob us of a good rule call, they robbed us of a great ending. And that's what sucks. Now, again, I am not one of those people that says, oh, the refs are the reason. Like, unlike the moron in Vancouver who throws popcorn on the turf like an idiot, I'm not going to sit there and get all up in arms. Because after the game is over, it happened. Like, it's one of a million things that happened, and your team lost. Like, suck it up, man. Honestly, like, I love that, like, honestly, like, Joe Burrow gets on social media and says, why are we arguing about the rule book? Like, I agree with him. Like, watch the replay objectively. I agree with him. Same thing with other sports, including the NLL. But now we have to get to the other part of this. I already mentioned the first part, which is all of these old people, or people over 35, I should say, are saying, oh, well, the way it's worded, and technically, like, no. I'm pretty sure, like, as a newer fan, I think you guys are full of it, honestly. You know, I say newer fan again because I'm in my fourth year watching this. I've been doing a daily show. I've watched it a bunch, but I'm not like a traditional lacrosse fan. So I understand there's some stuck in our ways crap going on here. But what are we doing? Like, who cares how it was when you were a kid? Like, honestly, suck it up. I'm not worried about that. I do think they're going to word it specifically. And obviously, the stinking refs, and I think Ryan Fowler's crew was the ones who didn't call this. Yes, I think the refs obviously need to have a beating to their head. Because if one thing refs are going to do is not pay attention to a rule. It's funny because the same guys who won't even check their microphone before the game starts, yeah, we expect them to call that crazy call. I guess it doesn't make sense. So once we train these people, and I do think the NLL is partly responsible for this, because obviously they don't communicate with the refs, and anybody who comes on this show or texts me and says, yes, they do, you don't believe that. There's no way you do. Because if they had actually trained these guys, and don't just say, I get these guys have other jobs. Newsflash, everyone in the league has a new job, another job. But don't sit there and tell me that these guys cannot be trained. That's just wrong. The replay system has been 50-50. It's been awful. Like, that does not sped up the process. Half the time it does. Half the time these guys are lost puppies. Again, I mentioned the fact earlier, they can't even turn their microphone on or test the freaking thing before the game starts. So they're rightfully jeered. And now you add this new rule, which obviously the NLL did not communicate with them, or else that thing in Rochester does not happen. Now I'm going to get to the part that's not as angry, but rather, how do we fix it? I believe that Pat Gregoire mentioned something, and Hutton Jackson echoed it as well, about 3 seconds in the crease. I love that until I don't. Because if we think this new rule is so hard to word that morons are, what if he's in the air? Guys, I don't know. I just feel like if you're in the crease, acting as a goalie, it should be self-explanatory. Unfortunately, a bunch of old heads have made sure it's not. So I cannot then expect the referees, after blowing that twice in Rochester, I don't think they're going to make the 3, even 5 seconds. I can't trust these guys to make that decision at this point. I should be able to, but a bunch of traditionalists are going to say, whoa, how do you know it's 5 seconds? Oh, everyone's gonna moan and complain. And I hate it, believe me, I hate it when professionals and fans make it about the refs instead of the game that happened. Again, Rochester blew a lead, and believe me, they are the first ones to admit that. But I can't trust the refs. I can't trust the old lacrosse heads. So I love 3 or 5 seconds in the crease. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if that's even smart enough. So I also like what Pat said on the show yesterday about maybe we just have a 30-second reset, and then if it is in the last minute or two, we do the power play thing. I don't know. But again, a couple of things happening here is, number one, fans and old traditionalists who think that they know everything. Because I told you guys this before, and it bugs me. Believe me, it irks and I know we're getting comments. It bugs me. But my thing is, how many times have fans, and social media is part of this problem too, if your team loses, 99.9% of the time, the refs are a coping mechanism for you. I don't know where we started this, oh, they all stink and the game is rigged. You think the NLL cares? You honestly think that? I don't think they do. I don't think, if they can't even call things, why do I think they're smart enough to do that? It's just a dumb argument to make. So that's first off. Second off, I just wish when we have a new rule that's obviously in place because teams made it work and it was an unfair advantage. If a player cannot, or an offense cannot even touch the goalie, or when he dives cannot even touch the crease, then your defenders, with the goalie padded up to high heaven, should not be able to stand there as an extra goalie. That's just stupid. So to wrap this all up, and I'll get to the comments on the other side, I just wish we would stop blaming referees and that this rule was not as debatable. Because we all know half these people are being dishonest. It's either the Buffalo fans who are butthurt, or it's the traditionalists who think the game should never change. And if you're thinking, oh, again, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If a guy is in the crease and jumps up to block it, I think that's a major issue. I don't think a defender should touch the crease, if I'm being honest with you. Like, if I had it my way, I think defenders should leave the crease alone and try to toe that line. But we got to stop acting like, and again, there are ways to reword it. I get that. There are ways to make it to where it's not a power play every time. But we have got to stop acting like this is not a smart rule. It's a fair rule. And again, I'll say it one more time. I'm fine with them rewording it. I'm fine with them making it, a reset of the shot clock, and then maybe the last 2 minutes have a little bit more penalty there. But I think it's a good rule. But the referee talk has got to stop. Because as angry as I was at this, the Rochester Nighthawks blew a lead. As mad as I was that I didn't get to see what happened, see the penalty shots, the Rochester Nighthawks blew a lead, and that's what happened. So, again, I'll get to the comments on the other side. We appreciate you. There's 7 other I have not read. I just wanted to focus on that because there's so many things you have to add in there. But I love the conversation. I just think that we have to find some common ground here, because I do think it's ultimately a good rule if it's worded and if we understand it correctly, which, again, it should be. Like, pass interference in the NFL is like a weird subjective thing. Fouls in the NBA can be the same way. But to me, it's like, you're in the crease, you block a shot. I don't know what else to tell you. That's what it is. Comments from the first segments. All these old, I'm 29. I feel like there's a bunch of people who are like 35 or 40 and up, are just like, they're so used to like the 80s or 90s NBA, and back when you could blast an NFL wide receiver or kill a quarterback. Like, the same people are like, oh, well, what a dumb rule. It's like, God, when are we allowed to move on? That's what, when are we actually allowed to make things better? I don't get it sometimes. And I do think some things you see, but like, this rule is a good rule. I don't think people are defending the rule. Well, but again, like, part of the reason they're defending it, in my opinion, and saying it's poorly written, is because they're being selfish, or they're acting like they like it. But it's like, again, the English to me is pretty clear. Like, if you're a casual fan of this sport, I don't have to, like, I don't care about what a lacrosse expert, I get it, you kind of have to be, but it's like, if a guy is in the crease acting as a goalie, I don't know how much better you can word that. Like, I just feel like it's people being pissed off because they don't like the rule. I don't think they do. And I don't think the NLL helped themselves by saying it was all safety. I get that. But like, we can't act like, well, the English, what do you mean, bro? Like, you're either in the crease or you're not. Like, I don't know what else to tell these people. I guess it makes me a dinosaur. Wow. Well, I'm fighting the dinosaurs too, and they're also like young at heart people, but it's just like lacrosse traditionalists or sports traditionalists. Like, when are we ever going to move on? Yeah, I was wondering about that 30 seconds of the key thing. And again, like, I like this, like 30-second resets, instead of like the whole every time it happens as a power play. I actually think this is the best idea, is the 30-second reset. And I do think sometimes you can let it slide, but it's kind of like, at what point, like, at what point are we going to be okay that it's an actual rule? And then, like, the within a minute or 30 seconds, I actually don't mind a penalty shot. Like, that would be kind of cool, but you also don't want to make things too crazy. Yeah, so it looks like we're only kind of, at least all the three of us are on the same page here. Oh, I like that too. There you go. Is if the guy's 40 years old, we're here to my old people. I like that. It's good stuff.